let's begin. 你们大家好，对于那些我不认识的人，很高兴见到你们。我叫 Nicho， 非常感谢大家的到来，也欢迎参加作品集览。Hello everyone, and to anyone that I don't know, nice to meet you. My name is Nicho. Thank you all for coming, and welcome to Portfolio Day 2025-01. Today, I will present to you how did the semester go. So, firstly, I will talk about my 个人经验, my personal experiences. Firstly, at the beginning of the semester, I took a first aid course that lasted approximately 15 hours, in which I learned a little bit about the process of CPR. I learned about the process of reviving a dead person. I learned about the ethics of giving first aid, when one is able to give first aid and when one should not. I learned the Heimlich maneuver for both adults and babies, which is surprisingly different. And I was able to get this diploma that you see here after being able to present basically everything that I had learned throughout the entire course and also answer a test. I also took a course on the Aristotelian point of view for well-being. This course was given by Julia. And during this course, we learned about eudaimonia, we learned about the topics such as the happy medium, and we learned how to basically control how exactly we present ourselves to others, how we present ourselves to ourselves, and how best to go about life in a way that isn't either too much or too little. I also had the opportunity to attend an expo in which Cam participated. Surely they will tell you more about it later on, where they gave us a little bit of a preview of what they had been doing on this website called Figma. Figma is basically a site in which you are able to go about designing a website, you're able to create prototypes, and really it's quite versatile. Cam actually made a website in the shape of a game. I won't say much more so that Cam can have the spotlight for that one. I also had driving lessons here in the capital. I had previously already had some driving lessons in Coban. However, I had always been way too scared to be able to drive here in the city, to the point where at the time when I started my course, I had completely forgotten how to even start a car. I unfortunately don't have more pictures of this. However, I do have a video. The video is currently muted because of the fact that the music was way too loud. Next up, I also kept up a Duolingo streak. Currently, I'm on my 135th day. I started it off learning a language called Esperanto, which is a constructed or invented language. However, halfway through, I decided to switch to Mandarin as my primary language, as I had realized that I hadn't been getting enough vocabulary during my formal classes, which I'll talk about later on. And I also learned how to create invoices for services or products provided, and also how to report it to the government. I am no longer a tax evader. Next up, I will be presenting my created experiences. So my first experiences was called Is This AI? Learn how to tell apart human work from AI. Basically, during this experience, I taught my classmates how to tell apart what is a real photograph or a real piece of art, and how to tell when something is made by artificial intelligence. Recently, there have been a lot of incidents where people in power, people of very high importance, end up believing that something is real when it's actually fake. So I believe that it's important for us to be able to tell apart one type of image from the other, just so that we can know what is true and what is false. Next up, I also worked with Carla Garcia to create an experience called the Basics of Branding, learn how to create an appealing brand. We worked together with Annika to be able to basically workshop some ideas for our personal brands, some ideas for how to present ourselves to others. And actually, some of these ideas I was able to see present in later activities, which I'll talk about again in a second. And lastly, for my creative experiences, I worked with Nicole Cardosa on an experience called Learn About Origami, Make more than just paper and easier than it looks. Origami has been something that I have been interested in for probably about a decade now, and I have been doing it actively since I was a child. I wanted to be able to work with Nicole and with the rest of our classmates to be able to share this passion and be able to share a little bit about the amazing history of this art form. And I will also talk about my attended experiences. Some of the experiences I was able to attend this semester were an experience about museology by Nicole Cardosa, in which she was able to take us through the Museo Popol Vuh, and we were able to see the way in which a museum is designed. We were also able to get an exclusive look at the behind the scenes of the museum. I was not able to take pictures, unfortunately, but it was really cool. Next up, I was also able to learn a little bit about SketchUp with CAM. During this experience, we actually measured out the measures and the shape of the orange classroom at the MPC, and we actually modeled it. This is the one that I made. Next up, I was able to attend Diego Lara's experience MPC Playbook, in which we were able to learn a little bit about how to better manage ourselves at MPC and give some of the ideas that we had come up with, give some of the advice that we had actually been able to personally experience in the past. And the idea of this experience is basically to have an unofficial manual of how to MPC created by MPCers for all future fellows and book campers. Next up, I also went to the Personal Brand Expo held by the third semester marketing class. This was an amazing experience. I won't talk much about it either, so that you guys can have the full attention of everyone for this. However, I do have to say, I am very happy about the way that you guys have been able to manage yourselves during your first semester as fellows. Congratulations. Next up, the archery class organized by Nina Fleming. This was amazing as well. I had so much fun during this class. Both Nicole and I were able to get shots on the bullseye. In this one, Nicole is pointing at the one that she shot, and this was mine. And lastly, I will also be talking about my milestone. So my milestone was to learn Chinese to a level good enough to read and understand a basic children's book in Chinese and be able to hold a basic conversation in the language. So, did I fully reach my milestone? Yes, I would say I did. No asterisk this time. Here is some of the vocabulary, some of the grammar that I was able to write down in my class notes. Here is a chat log that I had with a pen pal from China. I actually wrote some more people, but they never answered. And I also had the opportunity to learn a little bit of both simplified Chinese in class and the traditional Chinese by myself. So as you can see in my notes, the arrows that are pointing from the left in pink are simplified, and the ones on the right are traditional. This might seem a little bit like a waste of time, but in reality it was quite useful, as the Chinese characters actually typed out in this presentation were in traditional. I was not able to find a good font in simplified. And lastly, my final evaluation consisted in an oral evaluation from my professor at the time. The teacher would ask a question in Mandarin, to which I would need to respond in Mandarin as well. The teacher was not allowed to assist me in any way unless I asked the question entirely in Mandarin. Spanish and English banned during the exam. I would give you guys the final average score that I had. However, due to IT issues with Academia Europea, I wasn't able to. However, I do have my diploma for basic level. And my last point, will I continue after the semester? Yes, absolutely. Will I add on any more languages? Not yet. It is quite overwhelming, I will say. So, now that I have presented all of this, I must say, 真的谢谢大家. Thank you all so much.
You guys know that usually I tend to be very dramatic and have like a lot of things going on. Today I'm not going to do that because I think after this semester I need a little bit of pause and a little bit of relaxation. So today I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys, and I'm going to show you all of my non-negotiables that I learned this semester. Some of these were learned by the good way or by the bad way, but I won't tell you anything about that. So this is something that I'm going to apply for the rest of my life, so these are very important to me. First, know thyself and push boundaries. This semester, I went to my second concert ever in my life, which sounds crazy. When I was a kid, I was very like close-minded when it came to like my interests and stuff. You know, I was like a child and very annoying, so I wasn't really like exploring new things. But lately, I've been exploring my interests and finding, you know, new artists, new references. And this year, I had the opportunity to go to a concert of one of my new favorite artists with Isa, which was amazing. And this experience actually taught me of how important it is to explore, and by exploring, to knowing who you are and what do you like, and through that you can, you know, even go expanding more and more. These artists, which they don't really matter to the presentation, but they have helped me to expand my horizons in not only in music, but in, you know, in aesthetics, in storytelling, and things that are very important for, you know, for my life as a creator and a creative. Strive for excellence and prepare to be disappointed. Sorry, my picture is not there. But I'll tell you about it. This year, I realized that I'm really excited about tradition and Guatemalan like folklore, which is something that I never thought I would say because, again, as a child, I was very annoying and I was, you know, I hate my country and I want to go somewhere else and whatever. But this year, for some reason, I kind of just started getting closer to that. And I started getting really interested in procesiones. And I went to see like only like two. But what I was the most excited for is to see like the moment when the procession gets out of the church. And it's supposed to be one of the biggest spectacles that you can find here. So I went there. The thing is that that moment happens at 2 a.m. in the morning in Zona Uno, you know, and it's a little bit scary to be out there so late at night. So I went with my family, and I learned disappointment because I went there, and since the pandemic, you're not allowed to go inside the church and see the whole thing, you know, how they lift the thing and how the music and everything, which is exactly what I wanted to see. So from that, I learned so much of being prepared of what I wanted to do. You know, this is something I was really excited about and I was really passionate about. I was thinking about it for so long. And then I got there It was 1 a.m. We had to wait and stand there outside of the church. We couldn't get in. And then the view was just terrible, absolutely terrible. I hated it, hated the experience, honestly, because it was terrifying then trying to, find an Uber at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, strive for excellence and prepare to be disappointed if you didn't do the previous work. Then is find your place. This semester, I also got the opportunity to go to my first fashion event, not as staff, but as myself as a guest, which was, thank you, which was a surprise. I wasn't expecting for that to happen. And I was actually very scared of getting there and not knowing anyone and just, standing like this with my friend, just like, wow, cool clothes. But while I was there, my friend, who is actually very good at like networking and stuff like that, she pushed me to talk to people and say like, hey, which I was very afraid of because I didn't want to go and be like, hey, and someone to not remember me, which would be embarrassing. But the moment that I did it, this other person actually said hi to me and like hugged me and said, hey, how are you? And he really recognized me and like, it's difficult to explain, but I just wasn't expecting that I was being noticed in the past and that I was going to be recognized. So, find your place to me is something very important because I tend to not realize what is going on. Then don't underestimate the book cover. This is again about fashion, not really about fashion, but just a fashion event. A previous one, I learned how it is important, the appearance that you're putting on. Not exactly like physical, but just how you are presented to other people. I will rush through because I'm talking too much. Next is leave your ego at the door. I am working as a TA at a school. Again, I was doing that before. But from the teacher, I learned so much about leaving your ego at the door, which is something she repeats again to the kids again and again. It's a theater class. And here it's really important that, all the individual pieces are not acting as individual pieces, but are acting as a unit. And that's something that I've come to learn a lot because I tend to be a very individual person. But, it's super important to choose your team very carefully. Right now, I am preparing for one of the most important projects of my career. You guys might guess which one that would be. And I need to prepare not only to build my team, but to have the leadership to lead it to success. And for that, I can show you, I cannot tell you exactly which role each person is going to play, but part of my milestone was to find, well, my team of people who are going to help me with this project. And right now I have around 6 people who are, going to be in the project, and I am very excited because all of them I admire very much, and I'm very happy that they're going to be part of, and I'm very excited to tell you guys a lot more about it. And now to finish off, these negotiables are very important to me, but if any of you guys have seen The Bear, has anyone here seen The Bear? I knew you had seen The Bear. Nice. So if you guys know, the non-negotiables are a very important part of the last season, but they're not a positive thing. They're a bad thing. They're something that causes a lot of trouble within the team and within the show in general. So these negotiables are important, but I always need to remember that I am the one that is in charge of the non-negotiables and not that the non-negotiables are in charge over me. And that is something that I had to learn the hard way and that have had its consequences this semester. But I am learning, and in the end, I did do a lot of pretty cool things. So, thank you.
So, my semester was all about food, as you will see in the coming moments. So this semester I titled my presentation, Eat It All Up. They say learning is food for the mind. And this semester has been a feast. My milestone was about learning through food, heritage, culture, and history, especially connecting with my Chinese heritage and my acquired Spanish heritage from my dad. So I did a lot of cooking and sharing with my family, and this was very surprising and new for me because I tend to be the person that enjoys cooking for herself, but not other people. So it allowed me to connect a lot with my family. Also, part of my milestone was creating a recipe book that compiled all the recipes from my grandma, But this was very difficult because it's a very coveted book and a lot of people have bits and pieces of it, and I asked for it. Some people lost it, some people didn't really want to give it to me. So I had to change that. And I decided to do a recipe book of recipes of people that I love, because food goes beyond sustenance. Food communicates things. But that was also very difficult because people that create recipes of their own usually don't have measurements or not like a very stable way of creating food, right? So I created a book that is called All the Love I Eat. And this is a little piece of it that I designed for this illustration. That's how the book looks in general. It's an ode to the food that people cook for me or share with me that brings me memories, things about my history and who I am. So we have all shared a lot of with each other from all of our little tables. Food is about sharing, and that is something that I learned this year because I tend to love food just for myself, cook for myself, eat by myself, but that's not really the point of food. It has never been the point of food. So this year I created my own little recipes, which are my created experiences, where I taught you guys a little bit about my process. We had the Sacred Roots in Modern Worlds, where I taught you about Shinto, and how the way of living this religion in Japan incorporates a lot with the media. Also about Lunar New Year, where I taught you about Chinese New Year and how that is also celebrated in Vietnam, Korea, and we learned a little bit about the horoscope, and we also did the doodle science, where I taught you how to apply doodling, which is very good for your brain and focus, to your academic process, right? Which is something that I do every single day, and this presentation and most of my work is the result of that. I also attended your wonderful experiences. This year was a year that was, well, this semester was a very tough semester for me, so I couldn't attend as many as I would have liked, but I went to Lou's experience about creating charms, where I created this little guy that I'm in love with, and Isa's and Maria's experiences about jewelry and concept design, Eileen's experience about project management, and I also had a lot of time to create my own food and grow my own learning. I went to the K-Day, which is an event about K-pop, but this time I went there as staff, and I participated as a volunteer of the Korean embassy in sharing about Korean culture. It was a very difficult experience for me because I am very shy about speaking Korean, and I was surrounded by Korean people that mostly just speak Korean. I also went to the museum with my friend Natalia, which is a main character in a lot of my experiences. I went there before the MP camp, and it was a nice parallel to visit it twice. I also worked as a personal assistant for my sister here in Guatemala while she's away. That was also a good experience to learn how to work with a person, to communicate with people, and I also wanted to give back to my community, not only in this volunteering, but also here at MPC. All the support I get from MPC, I wanted to give back, so I participated in the Vive UFM. And also I designed my own agenda, because if you know me, you know that I hate agendas and I have a hard time keeping them. So this time I decided to design it myself. That was very tough work, but it resulted in a very efficient way of tracking my time. I also went to the College Freedom Forum, and part of my milestone was about heritage. So this year I organized the New Year celebration for Chinese in my family. I created the Lai Si, which are the gifts we give, and I created the menu and the venue. So, some things have been such a delight to eat, like sweet oranges, gummy worms, and mangosteens. I have gobbled them up with such ease. But some other foods are hard to swallow, even bitter to taste, those that take longer to chew and digest, those that I didn't even really ever want to try. This year was a year of learning. I had to learn a lot of things that I maybe wasn't feeling ready to learn or didn't really want to learn. And some other things I was very eager to get. Some things were easy to pick up and to get going, but some other things I'm still processing and I'm still learning how to do. But like eating the eye of the fish at the Chinese New Year, for fortune or for blessing, some yucky things we just gotta eat. Sometimes we don't make the best choices. We don't feed our minds the best way, but even then there's a lesson to learn. Like make better choices, eat some of this, try some of that, good or bad, everything is food for the mind. So that's what I learned in this semester. Everything we get, everything that comes our way is food for the mind. Be it good or bad, be it difficult or easy, everything gives us some sort of nurture. So eat Eat it all like I did this semester. Find new flavors, new favorite foods, try more, eat the yucky too. Eat up.
A mí me dicen Pinner, mucha gente, y creo que ese ahora va a ser mi nombre como profesional. Entonces, welcome to Pinner's Portfolio. Tengo un table of context. Primero voy a hacer personal experience, creative experiences, attended experiences y por último mi milestone. Este es como un collage de más o menos cómo fue este semestre para mí, lleno de fotos, creatividad, yo modelando, yo tomando las fotos. Entonces, primero, mis personal experiences. Primero, como el semestre pasado, tuve la oportunidad de trabajar con Mumu Ceramics. Es una emprendedora de Guatemala que hace cerámicas desde cero, a mano. Es muy artesanal, muy llena de, todo es earthy, todo es muy natural. Y el semestre pasado trabajé con ella y le gustó mucho mi trabajo, entonces lo volví a hacer. Me tocó tomar fotos de productos, de todas las cosas que ella ha creado. La verdad fue un challenge porque yo tomo más fotos de personas, no tanto de producto. Pero dije, me tengo que tirar al agua, tengo que ser yo, si no nadie nunca me va a tomar en serio. Después Gaby Salazar, esa es la mamá de Matías, por si no sabían. Esta experiencia fue muy challenging, ya que eran señoras muy importantes para el arte y el entrepreneurship de Guatemala. Les tomé portraits a cada una ejerce diferentes temas en Guatemala, unas a través del arte, otras a través del maquillaje, otras a través de la danza. Después, Dos Almas. ¿Qué es Dos Almas? Dos Almas es un entrepreneurship company de jewelry de unas alumni de la Universidad Francisco Marroquín. Se llaman Cristina Bracamonte y Katia Herrera. Ellas están creando sus propias joyas desde cero y también tuve la oportunidad de tomarles las fotos para sus productos y su campaña. Fue un gusto porque fueron las primeras fotos de ellas, fue la primera creación que hicieron y me tomaron a mí en cuenta, lo cual me sentí muy especial. Después, el Popol Vuh Museum. Fuimos con la Isa para una clase, lo tomé como experience porque aprendimos un montón. Pudimos ver cómo el arte se relaciona con las joyas, que era parte de nuestra clase, cómo las figuras, los colores y todo se representa no solo en el arte, pero a través de las joyas. Después, el College Freedom Forum, no sé si muchos han ido acá, pero deberían de ir, es una experiencia increíble y nutritiva. Aprendí mucho sobre la política alrededor del mundo, yo no me considero tan, muy interesada en eso, no me interesaba mucho hasta que fui y dije, wow, me tengo que enterar más de estas cosas, creo que es muy importante y lo más importante de esto es speak out and have your voice y creo que eso es algo que tengo que aprender. Después, Sofía Jewelry, aquí fui modelo, no me gusta hacer mucho modelo, me gusta más tomar las fotos, pero también fue una experiencia muy cool, muy enriquecedora. Fui al revés, no tomé las fotos, estuve adelante de la cámara, lo cual me sacó mucho de mi comfort zone. Pero quedaron lindas y yo también salgo linda, como siempre. Después Created Experiences, Isa y yo las hicimos juntas, entonces ahí nos puse a las dos juntitas. Primero fue Jewelry Conceptualization, pues esta fue alrededor de nuestras clases, de cómo crear una joya desde cero. Para mí esto fue súper challenging porque no solo no sé dibujar bien, pero me trabo mucho al tratar de hacer cosas nuevas. Pero teniendo a la Isa al lado, que es súper creativa, súper artista, me hizo salir un poco de mi comfort zone y try my best. Y queríamos hacer lo mismo para los demás, que pudieran salir de su comfort zone, que pudieran abrir su creatividad. Y esto fue dividido en dos, tuvimos dos experiencias separadas. Una fue ellas pintando y siendo creativas, jugando con colores, jugando con shapes and styles. Y la segunda fue crear tu joya desde cero. Aquí como podemos ver, Inés hizo su collar. La verdad, para hacer su primera vez le quedó mejor que la mía. Y por último, creatividad y ejecución de conceptos. ¿Qué fue la idea de esto? Nosotros teníamos que hacer para una clase un album cover desde cero. Fue muy difícil porque teníamos que hacer algo completamente diferente del álbum original. Y como pueden ver, este fue el mío y este fue el de la Isa. cosas completamente diferentes. La Isa súper creativa, súper expresiva, yo un poco más simple, un poco más yo, la verdad. Y queríamos hacer esto con los demás y compartir. Igual Inés participó en este, igual Nina, y este es el de Inés. Y después, Attended Experiences. The Doodle Science de Inés, este me encantó. Siento que yo soy una persona muy nerviosa y ella me ha enseñado que en las clases o cuando uno está nervioso hay que aprender a solo relajarse, dibujar. Y la verdad sí saqué mi corazón en esta. La verdad escribí más de mis sentimientos que sobre lo que teníamos que escribir. Y siento que al escribir y al doodle estaba hablando más de mí y me di cuenta hasta el final y es súper reflectivo y la verdad me encantó esta experiencia. Inés, good job. Después otra vez Inés. Shinto en Contemporary Japan. Este fue una experience muy lindo, la verdad Inés ya les explicó, entonces voy a pasar para no tardarme tanto. Teach Yourself Guitar, este me encantó, este fue de Cam. Yo me encanta tocar el piano, me encanta cantar, me encanta hacer música y la verdad solo me faltaba aprender a tocar guitarra. Of course I didn't learn at my best, pero siento que Cam me ayudó mucho a just go for it, just try. Y nos enseñó que no todo tiene que ser aburrido, aprender no tiene que ser aburrido. Aprender puede ser también full of games and fun. Entonces nos puso a hacer un juego. Fue muy chistoso porque nadie estaba pudiendo, nos costó un montón, pero we made it. Y por último, Lunar Year, que también Inés ya les explicó, entonces no les voy a contar mucho. Y mi milestone. Como pueden ver, todo mi milestone, pues la verdad todos mis experiences fueron alrededor de mi milestone, quería combinarlo porque siento que es por un lado más fácil y por otro lado mucho más nutritivo para mí, ya que I surround everything around the pictures. Esta fue unas fotos que tomé para un jewelry brand súper lindo aquí en Guate. Es todo artesanal también, hecho en Atitlán. Esta es otra foto de ella con los anillos que se crean aquí en Atitlán. Después esta fue una campaña con una modelo que quería que le hiciera portraits. Fue bastante difícil porque tiene que salir bien, tiene que salir perfecto, porque atiendo desde estas son las fotos que ella va a usar para presentarse a todos los demás. Esta es la hermana Laisa. Estas fotos las tomé para 2 almas también. Fue súper difícil porque había un montón de gente, un montón de equipo y era mucha presión, ya que era quitar joyas, poner joyas, cambiar outfits, ver la luz, todo súper complicado, pero se logró. Esta es una foto que tomé hace poco de mi hermanita. Estaba just having her moment y dije, esto no es part of my milestone, pero me encantó la foto, es como ella reflexionando de su vida y creo que esto es lo importante para mí al tomar fotos, expresar cómo es la gente de verdad, cómo uno a veces solo se sienta y piensa y es uno mismo y no todo tiene que ser así tan posado, tan pues fake in a way. Y estas son las últimas que también parte de mi milestone y de Gaby Salazar Jewelry. Me encantaron, siento que fue una experiencia increíble. Y eso es todo. Muchas gracias.
Durante este proceso, cabal escribí esto que dice, nos tambaleamos, corregimos y es un continuo reajuste, así es el balance en la vida, no es un destino fijo. Les voy a hablar específicamente de mi milestone. Se trata de wellness y como de traquear hábitos saludables, mindfulness y todo este rollo de wellness y la idea que yo tenía de wellness. Y pensaba que el wellness era como muy lineal, como que siento que ahora estamos súper influenciados en el sentido de las redes, lo que nos dicen los libros, lo que se pinta hacer, como que el wellness. Entonces, al principio, mi proceso se veía así, como que lo que creía yo que era el wellness y lo que estaba traqueando y lo que quería cumplir con mi milestone y todo el proceso. Y luego, la realidad versus lo planificado, que la vida creo que a veces se trata de planificar, pero no es tan fácil, porque creo que a veces más como mujeres somos bastante cíclicas o la vida no es lineal. Y eso lo he aprendido muchísimo ahorita, siento que este semestre y el programa me ha encantado, como que siento que nos permite mucho eso y qué cool, la verdad. Pues así se veía, como que salir, como que convivir con mis amigas, cenas familiares, como que montar moto. Mi mamá le encanta cocinar, o sea, le fascina y todo el tiempo siempre está cocinando. Y a mí me encanta lo dulce, entonces era como que comprar cosas de Muriel, también como que algunos drinks para convivir. Y, o sea, la verdad que es parte de la vida eso y como que luego, como que la tercera, cuarta semana que yo estaba viendo así como mi libro de estar como que traqueando y decía, no, voy mal y me frustré porque dije, no estoy cumpliendo, yo soy como muy de ideas fijas, de esto se tiene que ser así y no. Entonces, al final me di cuenta que la comida no tiene moral y el wellness es muy personal porque efectivamente a mí esto me hacía sentir bien y como que me nutría y va más allá de solo la comida, de estar traqueando cosas, de que uno creía que era wellness, pues yo. Y como que esto fue después, como que cambié toda esa idea y dije, bueno, está como que el hecho de juntarse con amigas, hacer brownies, como que convivir, ahí está Inés, con mis amigas, salir, cantar, todo eso es parte de, y como que nutrir el alma es muy importante y como que convivir es también muy importante y a veces ese proceso muy lineal, como que lo atrapa y como que se pone uno muy solo y creo que la compañía es muy importante y como pueden verme aquí soy otra, pijamadas también, con mis postres, más postres y va, como que luego me puse a pensar así como basic girl, que yo creía que el wellness era así, como que un proceso lineal y todo ese rollo y no, no es así efectivamente. Y como que era, pónganse a pensar que Twitter, ¿verdad? Entonces, como que mi usuario siendo lineal. Entonces, esa foto que sale atrás, pues son dos retratos que me los tomó María. Realmente cuando los vi, dije, bueno, en ese entonces era totalmente otra Carmela en todo el sentido de la palabra. Y ahora este soy yo. Como nutriendo el alma. Y he tenido como que experiencias muy bonitas a través del MPC, como todos ustedes, sus experiences y siento que a veces, no sé si les ha pasado que en un semestre sienten que fue el año pasado y no, o sea, fue hace 2 meses. Entonces, pues sí, esto fue mi reflexión y sobre mi milestone y si lo estamos cumpliendo, porque al final los de ideas fijas y todo tiene su tiempo y yo era así como muy de tiempos y deadlines y me di cuenta que todo llega, o sea, cuando uno menos lo espera. Así que gracias.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Isabel Castañeda y hoy les voy a presentar mi portfolio. Primero voy a empezar con mis Attended Experiences. El primero, como ya varios explicaron, el Lunar Year con Inés. El segundo con Matías, que nos contó sobre el Art Week en México y todos sus notes y reflexiones que tuvo. Y por último, el Doodle Science con Inés también, que también fue mi favorita de las que fui. Muy bien. Mis Done Experiences, todas las hice con María, como ya lo contó ella. Pero el primero es de Jewelry Conceptualization, también sí fue dividido en 2 sesiones. Primero estuvimos hablando un poquito de historia, de los materiales que se usaban en la joyería y les dijimos que hicieran un mood board y a partir de este hicimos un ejercicio como de color matching y combinación para que en la siguiente pudieran hacer sus piezas desde cero y muy a su estilo y siempre recordando lo que pusieron en su mood board y los colores que eligieron. Y la última es esta de creatividad y ejecución de conceptos. Como explicó María, esto fue un ejercicio que hicimos en nuestra clase de Jewelry Design. Y sí, aquí estuvimos, les dijimos que llevaran su álbum favorito y que olvidaran la portada que tenía y a través de los símbolos, de las metáforas, la música, los títulos, pudieran hacer su nuevo álbum cover que representara también su estilo personal. Ahora mis personal experiences. Yo no suelo poner mayor cosa que no tenga que ver con lo que estoy estudiando en MPC, pero esta vez sí fue muy necesario, porque el semestre pasado yo creo que por suerte no colapsé, porque no estuve comiendo las últimas semanas, no estuve durmiendo, no me organicé nada, entonces sí era muy necesario este cambio. Entonces, por ejemplo, tengo una clase a una cuadra de mi casa, entonces cada vez que podía iba caminando. No soy una persona que le gusta el ejercicio at all, entonces para mí caminar una cuadra sí es un esfuerzo grande. También estuve haciendo como mascarillas, cosas así de como wellness para mí misma, porque creo que más que todo en estas épocas no me doy el tiempo para mí misma y cuidarme, y por eso también comer mejor, eso lo estamos trabajando todavía. Pero también me puse a hacer como charms, cosas que no tuvieran nada que ver con la U, leer sobre espiritualidad, que también me podía dar un consuelo con toda la tormenta que a veces traigo en la cabeza. Y la organización, que es algo que también me cuesta mucho, la verdad. Es algo que todavía no tengo 100% maniobrado, pero como pueden ver, algunos días fue successful, otros no, pero el esfuerzo ha dado sus frutos, entonces sí puedo decir que este semestre no estoy colapsando a este punto. Y para haber hecho todo eso de la organización me llevó a poder llevar el semestre y todas mis otras experiences de una buena forma. Y no sé si algunos se recordarán que hace 2 semestres tal vez empecé a ir a clases de canto y hace un par de semanas tuve el segundo recital. No me gusta cantar en público, pero al ser el segundo recital ya tenía mucha más confianza y no me equivoqué de una manera tan trágica como la primera. Entonces la puse porque seguí en este trabajo y sí me ayuda como que cantar en público no se asemeja a contar lo que uno va haciendo en su semestre, de lo que uno está 100% seguro. Entonces me ayuda mucho a esto. Luego, como este semestre me estoy dedicando y el resto de la carrera 100% al diseño de joyería y a mi marca y todo eso, tuve que dejar un poquito el arte visual a un lado, pero no lo quería dejar 100%. También tengo un poquito de bloqueo creativo, pero las ideas siempre me fluyen, entonces me puse de tarea siempre que tuviera una idea, pues anotarla, ponerla y pues en el tiempo que pude trabajar, como pueden ver, aquí está la idea y aquí está el cuadro. Entonces, sí, no quiero dejar eso a un lado a pesar de estarme dedicando a 2 cosas. Luego, como les contó María, hubo un photoshoot de Sofía Sofía donde ella modeló. Yo estuve como behind the scenes, como que viendo cómo es un proceso de photoshoot para una joyería, que pues es algo que me sirve muchísimo. Más que todo aquí estuve pensando en qué tips me sirven y qué hubiera hecho yo diferente para cuando me toque, y creo que sí fue bastante útil. Luego, también como contó María, fuimos al Popol Vuh. Esto fue para un ejercicio de nuestra clase de design, en el cual pues teníamos que ir y ver todas las piezas y poder crear nuestras propias piezas a partir de lo que vimos. Lo puse porque fue la primera vez que hice algo así, como de pasar algo visual, como artístico, a una joya, que es algo que pueda ser utilizable, ¿verdad? Y esto también me lleva a esta experience, que es mi favorita, la verdad. Creo que aquí ya me di cuenta que sí puedo. Aquí lo que hice fue agarrar cosas que me gustan, música que me gustan, personas que tienen un estilo particular y cool, y hacerles piezas de joyería siempre a mi estilo, pero que vaya de acuerdo a la temática. Entonces, como, no sé si se ve que aquí estas 3 van como juntas, son de un álbum de una cantante ahí muy buena. Y estos 2 se los hice a otros 2 cantantes con un estilo también bastante particular. Entonces aquí me di cuenta que puedo hacer como que de algo artístico, algo más abstracto como sonidos, inspiraciones visuales, fotografías, puedo llegar a hacer piezas muy únicas que también me representan a mí más allá que a lo que estoy haciendo de inspiración. Y mi milestone, inicialmente mi milestone era investigar sobre temas legales, de compra y venta de oro, piedras, pero me di cuenta que realmente no es gran ciencia como yo pensaba. Esto lo aprendí como en una clase, como tips de mi clase de gemología principalmente, como que solo me dijeron, aquí puedes comprar oro. Y yo, Entonces como que realmente no me quedó mayor cosa ahí. Entonces pues me gusta mucho el styling, la moda y como que todo eso, entonces me enfoqué en investigar sobre eso, sobre el maximalismo, que es lo que más me gusta, diferentes maneras de usar la ropa, layering, y lo cual estuve aplicando también en mi vida personal, pero esto me llevó también a crear un curso para el próximo semestre en styling y poder como englobar todo esto con la joyería, ya que mi estilo es bastante chunky, maximalista, que se vea. Entonces creo que es muy importante saberlo usar y que te represente a ti siempre. Muchas gracias.
Les voy a presentar mis resultados de Experiential Learning 2025-01. Primero, mis Attended Experiences. Fui a varias, que son estas. Primero, a la experience de Nina, en la que aprendimos sobre el arco, los basics del arco, estuvo muy cool. Luego fui con José y aprendimos sobre la historia de Macedonia. Muy interesante, hay mucho chisme macedónico. Luego con Nico aprendimos a distinguir imágenes de AI a imágenes reales, que con los avances del AI cada vez va a ser más difícil, pero creo que está interesante. Y con Diego aprendimos sobre musical visualization e hicimos unos ejercicios de oír música y escribir y luego compartir. Y por último fui a un experience con Martín en el cual nos fuimos a un turibús y fuimos a algunos de los hitos importantes de la ciudad. Estuvo bien chilero. Esa es la Torre del Reformador. Lo voy a dejar hasta que acabe. Se imaginarán cómo grabé eso. Y luego les voy a contar de los experiences que yo hice este semestre. Cada uno lo relacioné con mis cursos. El primero fue para mi curso de estudios integrales de la estética. El segundo fue para Psicología General 1. Y el tercero fue para mi clase de Fenomenología. Bueno, para el primero hablé de la experiencia que tuve yendo al Art Week de México. Estuvo genial, yo estuve tomando un montón de fotos y las estaba archivando dentro de mis notas del teléfono para meterlas con apuntes, también porque de esa manera ocupan menos espacio, entonces no tenía que estar borrando fotos todo el tiempo. Luego el Syllabus Pizza Party, que llegaron Nico y Tommy. Básicamente nos reunimos para compartir una pizza y llenar nuestro syllabus en tiempo correcto, pero también les compartí algunos datos sobre los tipos de aprendizaje que existen en mi clase, pues que aprendí en mi clase de psicología. Esto nos sirvió porque estaba aplicando el método de condicionamiento operante en el cual utilizamos la pizza como un reforzador positivo para realizar una tarea. Y luego el tercero, para mi clase de fenomenología hicimos una serie de experimentos usando el juego y conceptos fenomenológicos para explorar el baile folclórico de Guatemala, el son, como un símbolo que puede ser aplicado o utilizado dentro de la historia, que les contaré más de eso luego. Ahora, mi milestone. Mi milestone se dividía en 3 partes: Tools, Adaptability y Networking. Para Tools me enfoqué en 2 cosas principales: diseño gráfico, digamos, en el cual estuve aprendiendo sobre Photoshop e Illustrator. Entonces llené un documento en el cual iba aprendiendo todas las cosas que necesitaba a partir de videos, cursos, etc. Es un documento bien largo y me hizo sentir una mayor comodidad con la plataforma. También estuve aprendiendo sobre análisis de datos, entonces plataformas como el Meta Dashboard y también maneras de utilizar esta información dentro de Excel. Esta fue como de mis versiones primitivas de análisis, pero ahí vamos. Y el próximo semestre va a tener un curso de eso, entonces we're gonna step up. Luego, adaptability tenía mucho que ver con tener plasticidad neuronal o poder reorganizar ideas, tanto para proyectos, tanto para creatividad, pero también para organizar mi tiempo. Esto es el horario que les presenté al inicio del semestre, era el plan que yo tenía, usualmente lo hago de esta manera, y en semestres pasados me he frustrado mucho cuando este plan no se da tal cual como yo quiero. Entonces este semestre aprendí mucho a poder fluctuar dentro de un horario existente y fluyó de esta manera y también esta manera, pero todo funcionó genial. Pero la adaptabilidad también me funcionó en proyectos como estos en los cuales tenía que construir narrativas a partir de videos en los cuales las personas que hablaban construían historias muy complicadas. Entonces, resumir eso en una narrativa que pudiera captar la atención, tuviera toda la información relevante y fuera en un tiempo corto, fue un reto y se logró. También poder coordinar mis tiempos de producción artística para proyectos que tengo pendientes que no compitan con mi tiempo académico, personal y laboral. Networking lo hice de muchas diferentes maneras, pero creo que estos fueron los 4 puntos principales. El primero fue a través de una narrativa, que es el trabajo en el que estoy. Pude conocer a muchas personas a través de esto y diferentes proyectos. También el proyecto de performance que realicé me hizo conocer a muchas personas. Ir al Art Week de México también me generó muchísimos contactos y estar en búsqueda de una serie de sponsors me ha hecho entrar en contacto con personas muy importantes dentro del área de mercadeo y también como CEOs de diferentes proyectos. Ahora, mis personal experiences. El primero es que fui a México, a la Ciudad de México por primera vez y estuvo increíble. Fue un sueño hecho realidad y aprendí muchísimas cosas. El segundo es que envié por primera vez una obra de performance a una galería, una obra de performance registrada con video. Y a mi sorpresa fue la obra ganadora de ese año, lo cual me hizo sentirme muy especial, gracias. Me hizo sentirme muy especial porque era algo que todavía no entendía al 100% y que ahora ya logro incorporar más dentro de mi trabajo. Junto a eso, les anuncio que también envié a una convocatoria una pieza de performance registrada con video que a finales de este año se va a exhibir en Corea. En esa misma línea del performance realicé mi primera convocatoria en la cual yo convoqué a diferentes personas para realizar una obra de performance colectivo que está re cool, está en el proceso de crearse. Es un poco de lo que les había enseñado en el experience anterior de El Son. Para eso también asistí a un taller de artes escénicas con Sabrina Castillo en la URL. Estuvo increíble, aprendimos sobre cómo pensar desde el juego, el cuerpo y la creatividad. También estoy asistiendo a 2 diferentes talleres de pensamiento y de arte. El primero se llama Epistemologías del Movimiento, en las cuales somos un grupo de estudio aprendiendo sobre el libro de Emma Chirish, que es una socióloga de Comalapa, investigando la historia de la sexualidad en Guatemala, específicamente en su pueblo de nacimiento, que es Comalapa. Y aparte, unos talleres de arte contemporáneo. Estoy realizando un proyecto súper interesante que también les voy a revelar más información luego, pero para eso reuní a un grupo de 40 personas para hacer investigación alrededor de un objeto de estudio que era la factura. Entonces tuve un montón de personas recolectando facturas y haciendo pensamiento alrededor de cómo se relacionan con este objeto para crear un engendro, que luego les contaré. Y mi último personal experience fue que esta semana se inauguró por el Día de Europa una exhibición en la que estoy participando con Aileen también, en el Palacio Nacional de Guatemala con una de mis obras, que es esa, una bolsa de cemento. Y bueno, para terminar, les quería contar que todos estos proyectos han funcionado de manera individual, pero creo que se sintetizan con uno en específico que va a suceder prontamente. Y se los quería presentar de una vez. Son los primeros en verlo, que es la invitación a mi primera exposición individual. Engendros, tautologías y poemas del sujeto transversal. Gracias.
So, hi everyone, my name is Annika. As you know, this is my first semester of fellowship. Whenever I start something new, a new trip, a new adventure, I always have a book with me and I keep recording all the special moments that I live with some flowers, some rocks, or something that remind me of the place and the moment. So I want to do that with this to make a diary of all the adventure of starting a fellowship. So every adventure starts with a map. My map starts with learning techniques. That was one of my main focus to learn a way that I learn better. Then I have learning from others, which are all my experience that I attend to, and then we have teaching others what I learned, which is all the experiences I made for others. My and my goal, my milestone is having my own blog because writing is really special for me. It's something that connects me with what I do and what I live. So my first personal experiences are the I accounting support at my mom's schools. I helped her do their accounting job. This helped me to understand the importance of deadlines, and it helped me to have an agenda because I always have only 1 week agenda for the week. But in this time, I need to track all the due dates from all the months. Next, I have international cooking class. If you know me, you know I like to cook, but this is usually a part of me that is like more free because I have never had classes. I always do it in my own. But this time I have a teacher that told me how to cook, and it helped me to understand that it's important to have advice to improve. Then I have guitar lessons. I have always want to play the guitar, but I didn't think I was that musical. But I understand that I could learn the guitar by relaxing, by doing something so simple, and I didn't need to have rules and control all the time. Just the next note I need to play. I have been tutoring a kid that has 60 years. This helped me to understand all the techniques that I have been learning in my pedagogy class. This helped me to uh, find a best way for him to learn because he learns in a different way from what I learn, and particular the system gives him to. He likes drawings and conceptual things to understand. So it was really interesting to apply all my knowledge in helping him. The other one that I really enjoy is I have the opportunity to be a Socratic seminar teacher, which I assist a Socratic dialogue, which it was really cool because I learned that different people get better by pushing different. Some people like to be pushed really hard, but other ones need to be softer and tell them what they are doing good so they can feel better and go further. Next, I learned how to do a hand cream. My grandmother a recipe she invented like a couple of years from now. It's like her secret recipe. She doesn't tell anyone, but she chose me to have the recipe to keep it in the family. So I'm really grateful for that. Then I have my attended experiences, which is learning from others. As I told you, when I learn from someone, when I go to a place or learn from someone, I like to keep that with me. So my first experience is project management and project scope from Eileen. This helped me later on to a project. So thanks to Eileen, I have tools that help me to understand a project that I have been working on. Then I went to Nina Bicycle Blogs. This experience I really like because I could see the side of Nina of talking about their sport. So I really get inspired to try to do that myself because I have stopped doing my sport for a while. So thanks to Nina, I got inspired. Then I have Carla and Nico, Basics of Brand, and Carla, Traditional Brands. This helped me to understand and have some ideas to end some of my projects. Then I have Diego Lara, the MPC Playbook. This helped me to see some aspects that I need to be more present in what I do, and I do that by writing. The next one is Martin Video Creative Process. This time he teaches how his creative process work and how he made his videos. It was good to see how he paid attention to details. So I want to apply that to myself. Then teaching other what I learned, my 3 experiences. First, I did the DISC learning about yourself is a personality test. So I teach them how different personality works and what is the better way to communicate to others. Because as we work as peers, we have different ways of communication, and it's useful to understand what is the best way for other person. I have next the conversation with Diego Beltranena. This was a space where he opened to tell us his story and to ask him questions. It was really cool for me to learn from somebody that has a lot of experience. And lastly, I have Brandy and digital marketing. Our brand presentation, I did it with Nicole, Carla, and Martin. This helped me to see all the work I have done because sometimes I feel like I don't do that much. But to be able to show my work and be proud of it and being able to express it in a beautiful way helped me a lot. My milestone is my blog. Now I have my blog. It's been difficult to do all the web stuff, but now it's done. So in conclusion, I can tell that I learn from different places, from different people, and I understand that the best way for me to learn is when I write. Thank you.
So this semester I focus more on something that I like, which is museums. Since I was little, everybody told me that museums were like boring and something that was just a schoolwork, right? So I wanted to teach you guys that museums are something that are amazing, amusing, and something that can teach you more than just facts. They can teach you about life, which is important. So first I'm going to talk about my my experiences. My personal experiences, I focused them more on guided them to my milestone. So I did both 2 interviews for the Museo director of Museo Popol Vuh. I did an interview for the administrator of education in Museo Shell. I did both a museum tour in both museums, and I also did with you guys a tour for the Museum Munay. And I also did a personal museology tour by Popol Vuh. So in these experiences, in the first interview, I learned a lot about Museo Popol Vuh that I didn't know about. These are some of the pieces that you can find in the museum. So in the first interview of the Museo Popol Vuh, I learned a lot about its history, how like people, for example, in coincidences, they can create something amazing. The story about Museo Popol Vuh, it began with the founders, Jorge Castillo and Ela Castillo, that were spouses.
and they had this big collection of pieces of the museo of like Guatemala, including pieces that were in pre-colonial era and pre-classical era. And most of the pieces, which is an interesting fact, is that they actually collected them while the construction of La Carretera del Roosevelt. Why? Because they will, Jorge Castillo paid the workers to, every time they found a piece, he will pay them a lot of money for it. So it kind of incentivized the workers to be careful while constructing in the area. Why? Because Carretera La Roosevelt was filled like it was the city of Caminaljuyu. Later in the interview of Museo Ixchel, I learned about not only its history, but also the important people and interesting people that went in the museum. For example, La Reina Sofía of España went to el Museo Popol Vuh, also the Emperor of Japan, and other people like important USA presidents. Which was kind of like shocking. Imagine you just went to a museum that just La Reina Sofia just went like wow. Then it's in my museology, in my personal museology experience, I learned about how important temperature, humidity, and all these factors can help us preserve things so perfectly, like this porcelain Virgen, that is the Virgen de Dolores. And I also went with you guys, and in 2 occasions more, I went to the Museo of Munae, which is it has a very sad story to it and a very tragic one, but also a very like good story. The sad story is that a lot of pieces while renovating the museum, they were robbed. If like the government says they were lost, but actually they were like robbed, literally corruption. I hated it. And the thing about the museum is that this was the first museum that I noticed the importance and the amusement that it gives like tourists to see our culture, because it's so special, so detailed. And you can see it, for example, in this photo, like it's kind of like amazing actually. Then I had my experiences attended. I went to Nina's basic bow learning. I've been to Martin's video process, Nina's experience on shooting course, which I shot in the eye of en el centro de la cosa esa, no sé cómo se llama. And I went to Nico's detecting AI generated photos. And here are like the invitations that of the experiences, and here are some photos, so as you can see I did it. And here's our way that we did. So in this experience of Nina, we literally had to walk like a terrain that was a coffee terrain, and was so cool, like seeing all the nature and stuff and all the heat and the sweating. It was amazing experience. Then this is a AI generated picture that we analyzed with Nico's experience. And it was kind of easy to notice that it was AI. And then this was Martin's experience, which it was very interesting how his idea and all his video process went. And then this is Nina's experience of basic bow, which kind of helped me understand the bow while shooting. So thank you. And then in creative experiences, I did a museology and museography experience at the Popol Vuh Museum, which we went to the basement. And God, Jesus, it was amazing. And because we saw a monk, like it had a 12, no, sorry, like 12 or 20 carat lamina de oro, which was amazing, and like a lot of other figures. Then it was our marketing presentation, which I presented my brand is called Yum Yum. And then the origami learning experience, which I did with Nico. And this one I did with Annika and Carla Martin. So these are the invitations, and these are the experience. So in this one, this is me presenting my brand, which is a brand focused on restaurants. Then this is like the instructions for building a origami figure. Here is how museums protect figures from like artifacts from deteriorating because of all the context. Also here you can see. And this is me presenting the origami lesson, and here is like the other photos, right? Then my milestone. So I wanted to do something that I liked, so I did a article about the Popol Museum and the Ixchel, which I brought it here, so I'm going to give it to you later. But then here I'm going to talk a little bit, just a little bit about like the thing that I talked in the article. So I talk about museums, the museum's history and museology. So one of the things that are very interesting about museums is that museums come from casualty. They come from like the impulsive desire for humans to collect, and collecting started from around like, as we can date it, like from Egypt. And then it became something that it was, that obsession of collecting became something bigger, that to, for example, the Biblioteca de Alejandría in Egypt. And then it became something more interesting. So in, sorry. So it then became something that we know as curiosity cabinets, that it started in 1900s, 1700s. And then it became what we know now as official of the official definition of museums. So the types of museums that we have in the world, there is mobile museums that are actually like museums that go on roads and present in different cities. Then we have traditional museums, it's like the Museo Popol Vuh, we have Munae, Ixchel. Then we have old houses museums that are, for example, museums in Zone 1. And then virtual museums that could be real or could be totally made up, what they have inside. Then the Popol Vuh Museum, I talk about its history a little bit, but it is, how can I explain this? The museum has a lot of history that is not told by everybody, and most of the history that I learned to write this article is history that I didn't know, even if you search it on the internet. Because people in Guatemala are so not interested in museums that people just think that, well, it's a waste of time. And I believe that's not true. I believe, for example, Museo Popol Vuh is super important for us because it, like, for example, the Museo Popol Vuh is the institution for creating, like, for presenting us the artifacts of Mayan culture. Then here are some of the figures that are very important. That figure changed my way to see museums in general, because it made me see that Mayans were more than just people with taparrabos and just knife, right? And these are some of the figures that I loved from the museum, these two. They're very pretty. The sad story about artifacts is that people love stealing, and I don't get it. Because, like, we can share all this stuff. We need to know information. You know that if people steal these artifacts, we cannot learn about the information. For example, about the information that is very important. For example, we have una botella de barro que fue encontrada cerca en Tikal, que lo que pasó fue que Hershey hizo un experimento y agarró como cierto residuo de dentro de la vajilla de barro y encontró chocolate. And those things, if things are robbed, things are stolen, they are not useful anymore. Those things are lost. And also the thing that I was mentioning from the Munai Museum, people love to steal, and I hate corruption because it destroys, not only destroys the reputation of the country, but also it destroys the education that people have. And here's some of the pieces that I have. Then the Museo Excel is one of the things that I love about Museo Excel is that they focus a lot on culture. They want to bring communities together, which it brings people, for example, the activities that they do, the things that they talk about is always aligned with community. And this is a piece of like the month from March, I believe. And this is some of the photos that I took. And then tradition and fashion. These are some of the things that I learned from Museo Shell. That is, trend, fashion, and tradition is combined and not separated. Nothing of Guatemala's traditional dressing is not disappearing. It's just falling out of fashion just as contemporary trends do. And we feel tradition is very fashionable. Here are some of these things that I took photos of in the museum. And museology. Museums are designed in a way that to make you look somewhere. For example, in Museum of Popol Vuh, for example, they put those lights there so the piece is not directly affected by UV light or like any damage. And they try to protect. Museology also talks about how to protect a figure and how to not damage it in exhibition. So that's that. And from exhibition, the best way that museums exhibit things is by putting the biggest piece on the center and then calling out the attention on the other sides. Thank you for your attention. I'm sorry it's so long, but please go to museums.
Este semestre les voy a presentar mi RAP 2025.01, en donde se puede definir como less speed and more soul, because this semester wasn't about burning out, it was about burning steady. I think I reached burnout this semester and still managed to have 3 different learning modes. The first one would be power saving, because I went to the doctor, to 4 different doctors actually, and they all told me that I was fine, so that's why I reached the conclusion that it was burnout, but still managed to reach my goals throughout the semester. And the second place, we have creative collaboration. This semester I joined 4 different classes in product design, which was really refreshing to share this creative energy with other people. And well, gentle iteration, because this semester I did everything at a slower pace. Then the next category is the experiences that I created, which were 3 out of 3, rated by assistants. In second space, we have a tie with Why, What, How on Figma and SketchUp for virtual galleries, both of which had 3 attendees. In top number 1, with an increase of 33.3 of attendees, which would be 1 more person, I have yourself guitar, where I shared some of the tools and things that I learned when I started to learn guitar myself. So here's the final chart. Next one would be the personal experiences, which were rated from okay to where did you get the time to do that? On the 5th place, I attended to 2 UFM conferences. They were like UFM Design, which were really cool because la verdad es que nunca había atendido a conferencias de la U y these ones were really cool. Sentí que pude conectar con las personas que estaban presentando, entonces no se sintió como tan alienado, ¿verdad? Porque son personas bien coolas que se paran enfrente a hablar. That's 5th place. On 4th place, I went to an expo en la Embajada Mexicana, which was about altares urbanos de las vírgenes throughout México, que fue un proyecto que le tomó varios años a Roberto. On 3rd place, I have another expo. This one is on 3rd place because it has 2 parts. This one, the first part, would be que, bueno, esta fue una expo de 35 estudio, donde en la primera parte nos invitó a colaborar, nos puso a hacer prints, como que el tema era Guate, entonces tenemos que traer cosas que nos inspiraron de Guate y luego nos puso a pintar en un pedazo de tela. The second part was the expo of things that she did with the prints that we did on the first part, and I was able to attend to those too. In 2nd place, I reached 100+ days streak 8 days ago, so today it's 108, learning German, so that's really cool. And on 1st place, I earned a triple certificate on business executive and life coaching, which was part of a class that I took last semester, but I was missing like 40 hours, so somehow I reached to fit that in this semester. So here are the final charts. And for the attended experiences, I attended, here I put 5, but when I was over there, I realized that I went to 6. I learned a lot from you and I really enjoy attending to your experiences. Honestly, I would love to attend more experiences of you. But I don't know, this semester was weird. And the last category, if this semester were a tarot card, if I had to pull a card this semester, it would be the Hermit. Fully aligned, not reversed. Here I have my own definition of it. I was this semester very quiet. It was like very internal and it felt like I was preparing for something else. So this burnout pushed me to go inwards, not because I had nothing to give, but because I gave it all in previous semesters and well, I was kind of obligada a rest this semester. Because something big is coming. Because this wasn't a pause, it was a strategic retreat. Because great things are coming next semester. And well, that's a wrap. Thank you.
Hoy les voy a contar qué es lo que hice en Experiential Learning este semestre, algunos puntos altos de una vida muy tranquila, una vida sin mucho que decir, pero que igual manera se los voy a compartir. Entonces, empecemos. Assisted Experiences. Este semestre me gustó mucho porque logré asistir a más experiences de las que pude haber asistido. Llegué a asistir a 6 experiences, normalmente solo logro asistir a 3 por temas de transporte, tiempo y porque mis horarios nunca logran furular con algunos otros, pero estoy feliz. Algunas en las que asistí fue Is This IA de Nico. Me gustó mucho esta experience porque tristemente o felizmente, no sé cómo tomarlo, mi mundo gira alrededor de la IA. Es porque tengo Twitter y pues a veces me arrepiento de esa decisión. Entonces ver cómo otras personas miraban la IA fue muy particular. Me gustó compartir también mis opiniones sobre esta. Otra a la que asistí fue Basics of the Vote de Nina. Otra que también me encantó, la pasión que Nina le pone a hablar de las cosas que le encantan, que le generan pues una inspiración, también me inspiran a mí. Muchas gracias, Nina. Disculpa que no logré atender a tiradas de arco, pero los martes siempre me quedaban difíciles. También asistí a 2 experiences de Eileen de Project Charter. Estas me ayudaron para mi milestone. Les voy a hablar de eso en un ratito, entonces no se preocupen. Muy entretenidas, parecían muy bien preparadas. A veces envidio lo bien que preparar las experiences de Eileen, pero muy útiles a un futuro. Ahora, mis created experiences. Este semestre decidí hacer experiences basadas en historia. ¿Por qué? Porque una vez que hablé con Ale de historia es chisme histórico. Entonces, ¿por qué no compartir un poco de chisme histórico con personas que posiblemente les interese el chisme histórico? Una de las experiencias que hice fue Filipo y Alejandro de la historia de Macedonia. Tanto Nico como Matías llegó. Me da risa esas imágenes porque en esas imágenes yo estaba intentando explicarle a Nico cómo un examante de Filipo había muerto porque su nuevo amante se llamaba igual y lo mandó a la guerra. Estuvimos un rato discutiendo porque no entendía y yo en mis habilidades intenté explicarle. Espero que hayas entendido, si no entendiste, discúlpame. Pero fue una experiencia buena, ya que uno de mis cursos estaba diseñado alrededor de la historia macedónica. Y pues la historia macedónica, aunque solo sea recordada por Alejandro, aunque también a mí me gusta mucho Alejandro, Filipo fue una parte fundamental de esta, porque al fin y al cabo, si algo aprendí en este curso es que la historia macedónica se basa en daddy issues. Otra de las experiencias que tuve fueron las cruzadas. A la hora de tener un curso del medievo me di cuenta que las cruzadas no eran este gran evento territorial, no eran burocracia, sí hubo asesinatos, hubo genocidio, pero eso se tiene que esperar de la historia humana. Aquí me acompañó Nina, porque a Nina le encanta la historia medieval, también me acompañó Nico, más que todo Nico estuvo en todas mis experiencias, muchas gracias. Entonces lo que expliqué fue las cruzadas, que eran las cruzadas, que al final solo fue un conflicto político-religioso sobre la cristiandad, el mundo musulmán, y pues como Luis IX ni siquiera logró terminar su primera cruzada porque lo capturaron y en la segunda se murió a mitad de camino. Y la revolución bolchevique. A la hora de ver que todas mis experiencias se estaban tornando más que todo a una historia occidental, decidí darle la vuelta. Porque o era hablar de la historia bolchevique o hablar de pues Vietnam, pero me di cuenta que eso va a ser para un siguiente semestre. Y la revolución bolchevique es graciosa porque a Lenin lo expulsan de Rusia como 3 veces y pues al final los líderes bolcheviques terminan agarrando el poder porque también Lenin decide interferir con las elecciones democráticas de Rusia. Entonces, un dato que se llevan. Ahora, mi milestone. A mí siempre me ha costado poder ver las cosas que hago y tener algo de respeto hacia ellas, un poco de cariño, pero decidí hacer algo diferente este semestre. Quería aprender a desarrollar páginas web. Entonces, cuando empecé el semestre, intenté buscar diferentes páginas en cuáles hacerlas. Habían unas páginas como Wixia, como Squarespace, pero decidí agarrar WordPress, porque en lo que había investigado, WordPress no solo me daba la mayor libertad que alguna página para desarrollar webs me permitía, sino que estaba, pues, disculpen la palabra, jodida de usar. Y pues, me gustó el desafío. Ahora, tal vez se pregunten, ¿dónde está la página? Aún no se las voy a enseñar porque eso es para la expo final, entonces espérense un rato. Pero en este proceso de creación de páginas, aún me sigue dando risa. Cuando tenía que pagar la suscripción de WordPress, lo hice y mi página inicial se perdió. Entonces tuve que reconstruir mi página desde cero y cuando hice eso empecé a llorar, me empecé a frustrar, pero la logré. Y pues se las voy a enseñar el 16 y es algo de lo que estoy orgulloso de haber creado con mis manitas y un poco de pues desesperación. Ahora, mis personal experiences. Aprendí a manejar. Ya había empezado clases de manejo en mi segundo semestre de bootcamp. Las tuve que dejar un momento por algunos problemas, pero felizmente ahora puedo compartir que tengo un pedazo de plástico que me permite manejar carrozas de unas 500 toneladas. Siempre me ha miedo manejar, pero poco a poco se tiene que ir quitando el miedo uno y pues qué mejor forma de salir a una jungla de concreto como la ciudad de Guatemala. Intenté hacer algo de arte con mi mamá. Terminamos haciendo un hot dog, un completo como le dicen en Chile, o un chuco como le quieran decir, Fue un proceso largo, lo hicimos en el patio con Sprite y pues estoy orgulloso de cómo salió. También exploré la ciudad, pero dentro de estas experiencias que tuve fue explorar la ciudad, ya que estoy del mapa al papa y que se trata de una movilidad urbana sostenible. Soy una persona algo fatalista con Guatemala, no lo voy a negar. Siempre estoy muy negativo hablando de que todo va a ir a peor, pero ver la ciudad en esta perspectiva de a pie y que está muy cerca de ser una ciudad caminable, pero no se hace por X o por Y motivo, me pone triste, me pone triste. Otra personal experience que tuve fue intentar convivir un poco con mi familia. Esta es la única foto que saqué. Me encanta esta foto, me representa. Es cabezón y pues adentro de él hay una lluvia de ideas algo rara. A veces sale bien, a veces sale mal, pero termina siendo una piña colada. Como ya mencionado, otra para mí que es una personal experience fue asistir a más experiences de todos ustedes. Siempre asistí a 3, esta vez logré asistir a 6. Intenté hacer origami, me tuve que ir a la mitad por temas de tiempo, pero me gustó mucho. Muchas gracias, Nicole y Nico. No creo que mis manos lo hubieran logrado, pero ahí estaba Nico para guiarme. La ida al museo me abrió los ojos en más que todo cómo la historia funciona. A veces pensamos que la historia es un momento, son momentos que no tienen ninguna conexión entre ellos, pero viendo cómo explicaban que fue la historia nativa de Guatemala, me empecé a divagar pensando cómo en algunos tiempos Filipo estaba consiguiendo otra esposa, cómo Alejandro estaba peleando en un río, o incluso cómo Rómulo y Remus estaban peleando para ver quién creaba Roma. Entonces ver cómo la historia no es un momento, sino que son momentos conectados entre sí, pero en un largo del charco tenés un genocidio, en el otro, entonces tampoco es tan diferente. Y muchas gracias, este ha sido un semestre raro y muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experiential learning. And I'm going to start with a question. What if I told you that challenging your core beliefs about yourself was the answer you were looking for? This is the question that I would do to myself at the beginning of the semester, and that has changed everything. But first, I'm going to tell you about all the things that I was able to do by answering and doing one simple change. I'm going to present my milestone, my personal experiences, great experiences, attended experiences, and my conclusion. My milestone was all about networking. Believe it or not, this was a great milestone for me because I don't usually think of myself as someone who has a lot of time to go to different events and to make small talk also, which I learned a lot in the workshop. And I usually wanted to look at the expositions by myself, not in the inaugurations. So for my networking milestone, in order to open my possibilities as an artist, I had some measurable objectives. They were attend at least 2 big networking events, visit at least 10 art expositions, ideally if they were inaugurations, and talk to the people. Also, attend to 2 workshops of my field and approach the expert, start a conversation, visit at least 2 art studios, and create a contact and client sheet for my future, which I will be developing as the years go by. So firstly, I went to this huge experience and workshop. No, it was not a workshop, a networking event that was called Década Épica by Lucia Cosenza, who's a great entrepreneur here in Guate, in which I was able to meet a lot of entrepreneurs, talk to them, get their contacts, and form a relationship, which was the most important part of this milestone. Then I also went to a convivencia artística in Fundación Pais, in which I spoke to a lot of artists that I admired, I knew, but that they didn't know me. So I presented myself, and Matias was there as well. And I also attended to the Feria de Arte Pais, in which I was the live artist painting. I was painting with other artists, but a lot of people approached me. I talked to them about my work, and it was networking at its core. I was vulnerable because I was doing my process in front of a lot of people. Then I went to more than 10 art expositions and inaugurations. These are all of them, but I'll show you the pictures. So, amongst them, there were Guatemala in Proyecto Poporopo. I only got to take this other picture. It was an exposition by Ramon Avila in El Túnel, but I had no battery, so I took the last photo before entering. Then the exposition at the Palacio Nacional of the Unión Europea, Carmen Maldonado's exposition in a gallery cafe in Zone 10. Ponarte. I also went to Sol del Rio. There were two exhibitions, contemporary exhibitions there. TQM, a personal exhibition of my friend Eric Boror, to the exposition of Tiempo Animal by Jamie Denburg, Galería Abierta, RGB in Museo Miraflores, Dalí Surrealista in the Centro Cultural España. These two, I went to this week. I'm exhibiting at the Museo Ixchel if you want to go. So I went to the inauguration of El Ático and to the exposition of Joaquín Orellana, who does a lot of instruments and he mends them and he's really cool. So this was great for me, and I would not have been able to attend and especially talk to a lot of people there if I was not in the state that I am in because of the change I'm going to tell you about. I also did a client sheet. Of course, I did not add the names here because it's private, but I have a client sheet now in which I added which are the paintings that they have bought from me, how they contacted me, what are the next steps I can do to keep the relationship going, and a lot of things that will help me in my client management. I did it in Asana. It's a great platform. I visited Ada Colocho and Eric Menchu's studio, and I held the whole afternoon of a conversation with them, and I really appreciate this experience. I also attended to some workshops. I attended this one that is called Lo Curatorial en Tránsito by Jamie Denburg and other curators from Mexico. I attended the experience/workshop with Diego Beltranena and also attended a creative process workshop in which there's one class left with Marilyn Boror. Other personal experiences I had, I received private sessions with Renato Soy in which we explored more my creative process. I also did a lot of talks in La del Valle, Landívar, and I was invited to Chimaltenango, and I did a talk for a lot of students. And I also created a project that I wanted to do for a long time that was doing small tarjetas for Mother's Day. So I did that as well. And I created my experiences, which you know that were about project management, about the project charter, the project scope, and the work breakdown structure. I attended some of your experiences. I would have loved to go to a lot of more experiences, but they coincided with my classes. So the ones that I could go to was Isa and Maria's jewelry experiences. I also went to Nico's which one's AI? And I also went to Annika's experience with Diego Beltranena. Okay, now for the final reflection. This semester, I truly felt abundant in time, energy, and attention to others, my projects, and myself. I can say that the satisfaction I feel from finishing experiential learning, especially the networking part, challenge consists from an internal change that I did this semester. A personal situation this at the beginning and at the ending of last year and beginning of this one forced me to take things slower. I got sick because I was so stressed that my nervous system could not take it anymore. And I've seen that a lot of you were on the same page as well. So it was collective. So I ask you again, what if I told you that challenging your core beliefs about yourself could be the answer that you were looking for? This is what I did. I usually thought that I would describe myself as a hardworking person, that I didn't rest, that I was always hustling and doing plenty of projects because I was assigning my self worth to the quantity of projects that I did. I was putting way too much self worth in what, and how much I did, more than who I was. I believed that the only way to be or feel successful was to work hard, always be busy, never rest, grind through it all. My immune system forced me to take a step back and reevaluate sustainability of this approach. So I had to make an effort. I read some books, Mira Contemplativa by Byung-Chul Han, and also this other book that's called Hiperagotadas. I would really, really recommend it to you, in which I learned how to break the cycle of stress, how to teach your body that you're no longer in survival mode, because sometimes our mind we can know it in our minds, but our body does not know it. So I also learned to take care of my body. And for the first time since I was 15, I was able to be there for the people that I cared for. No rush, no expectations, just present, willing, and with all of my heart. You guys know that I have always struggled to answer messages, especially like my really close friends, and I was able to do that now. So I was able to truly connect with the new people I met in the networking milestone, make small talk because I learned how to do it, have time to just stop, ask questions, and show that I truly care. My art also flourished, and you'll see it in a personal exhibition I will do this year. But I had so much fun now in my process, and much more initiative also, and joy what I was doing. So if I had to sum up my biggest experiential lesson from this semester, is that I can achieve my wildest creative dreams while also going slow and resting often, which was something I would have never believed about myself. So I want to leave you with this final quote that I have also been looking at to remind myself. You dance with time when you decide time is your partner and not your master. Thank you.
This experiential learning, I decided to focus on self-help, which I think everyone can agree here has kind of exploded throughout the years. Currently, everyone has a book on self-help, a podcast, they make videos on self-help, and I thought it was, sort of strange that this was exploding all of a sudden, but I thought it was very interesting, so I also wanted to take part in it. I used to read a lot of books that were in the self-help sphere, and I always found them very, very interesting. So yeah, this semester was self-help. I want to start with my attended experiences. Here I attended Diego's Magical Things experience, where he talks about how some objects have sentimental value to us, and how some, well, they're just objects, but there's some objects that we can't live without. Here we have Cam's Teach Yourself Guitar experience, where we played Rock Band, we practiced chords, and Cam brought her guitar, and everyone got to play. There's Tomas's cloth 3D experience, where he showed us he showed us the basics of the program, and he showed us a hoodie he made at the end with the program. And here we have Cam's Figma experience, where she also taught us the basics. And here we have the Sketchfab experiences, where we recreated a room in MPC in the program. And here there's Matthias's experience, where we kind of just danced a lot. Here are my creative experiences. Musical visualization. This is a tool that I've been pretty much using my whole life. I like to write a lot, and most of my ideas come from music, from listening to music. So, I gathered a group, and I told them all to bring their favorite album or a song they liked, and to just write whatever they felt while listening to the song or the album. And at the end, we kind of switched with the person on their left. They listened to each other's albums, and everything came out really differently. Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima. This is one of the greatest books of all time, in my opinion. Here we talked about the philosophy of Yukio Mishima. We talked about the book Sun and Steel, which is an essay on how he kind of made his own philosophy, focused on his body, on his physicality, and we also talked about destiny, self-worth, and all that stuff. And lastly, I did an experience on the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, which is the 4 masculine archetypes. And we did a little quiz to see where we stood in the 4 archetypes. And yeah, there's Tomas. And my personal experiences. First, cycling. I used to ride my bike a lot. I used to ride it almost every day in the first semester of MPC. And I don't know why I stopped. It was a really great way to let out stress and to come back home feeling energized. And this semester I started doing it again, mainly I rode it to the gym, but sometimes I just rode it just because, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. It helped me a lot. Faith. This semester I've been taking a course on Christianity, and we've mainly been reading the Bible. We've read a good chunk of the Bible, and it's helped me out a lot. Last portfolio day I also talked about how I was getting into Christianity, but this semester I kind of took it more seriously. And there's the Serenity Prayer right there, which I just printed and just pretty much taped to my wall. But this has been invaluable to me, honestly. This whole semester, just having that book too, just not knowing what to do. You just crack open the book, or you just look it up, and there it is. Drums. This is what a normal drumstick looks like, and these are the 3 that I have cracked and chipped so far this semester. Again, another great creative outlet that I've had. Last semester, I also I used to play, but again, this semester I kind of took it more seriously, and it's helped me out a lot. It's great stress relief, and I get to come out at the end of it feeling proud, knowing that I progressed, because it's not very easy. And books, these are the 3 books that I kind of based everything around the semester. I read them over and over. Sun and Steel by Yukio Mishima. How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover. These 2, Sun and Steel and King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, were more spiritual and less practical. They were more about kind of finding where you are in life. But How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big is a very practical book, and it's really amazing. It kind of teaches you the moral that all you got to do is keep trying, and even if you fail, you just got to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And yeah. Strength. Last portfolio day, I also talked about how I started going to the gym. Here's my little diary of the exercises I do. And the proudest thing, honestly, that I'm most proud of is my weight. I'm at 165 now, and when I joined MPC, I was at 132 or something. So I've been a skinny kid my whole life, so feel great. And FL Studio, which is a computer program that allows you to make music. I had the drums, but there was a lot of music that I heard in my mind that, it just wasn't solely on the drums. And this program kind of lets you do anything. So I started using it almost every day. The first thing I did when I wake up was pretty much get on the computer and make a little song. And another great creative outlet, which has helped me out a lot. And my milestone, first, I wanted to make a compendium of, how different people thought about different things, how they felt about things that they held special in their lives. But soon I realized that, I kind of had to help myself and realize what I held special in my life. So I'm still making a compendium, but not of other people's accounts, but of my own accounts and of my own personal beliefs. And here I have Reason to Live, Higher Purpose, all this stuff, and there's a bit more, but yeah, the end.
Yo les voy a presentar mi portafolio de este semestre, que lo titulé como The Art of Learning by Doing. Primero quiero empezar con las experiencias que creé, que la titulé como Designed to Grow and Inspire. La primera, como ya lo han mencionado antes, fue la expo que tuvimos con Martín, Nicole y Annika, que fue básicamente pues el final de nuestro curso de Branding y Marketing Digital. Pues básicamente esta expo fue exponer nuestras marcas, cómo la creamos desde el principio hasta ya la creación del Visual Identity en Digital Advertising. Y pues básicamente el punto final de la expo fue pues que las marcas realmente tienen su propia personalidad y su propia identidad. La segunda fue la que tuvimos con Annika, la creamos con Nico, que fue pues las bases en general de lo que es branding. Vimos algunos tips, algunas bases de qué hace que tu marca sea diferente a las demás, y también cómo definimos nuestro propósito y cómo identificar nuestro target. La otra fue una que yo creé. En esta pues asistió Nico y Annika. Esta pues básicamente la enfoqué en cómo las marcas sobresalen en los retail stores, cómo tu packaging en general puede como sobresalir en todas las demás marcas. Y básicamente esta experience la basé con una empresa de Chicago, Illinois, que es Process Marketing, que pues básicamente me ayudó un montón para poder entender tanto cómo las marcas o cómo este tipo de empresas eligen a las marcas tanto a nivel nacional como internacional. A las experience que asistí este semestre, pues la primera la tuve en línea porque estuve de viaje, pero fue la experience de Annika. Básicamente acá hicimos el test de personalidad, entendimos que la importancia de identificar nuestra personalidad y el impacto que tiene tanto, por ejemplo, en nuestras relaciones, en nuestro trabajo, en nuestras amistades en general. Bueno, de hecho fue la última que tuvimos con Martín, donde asistió Nicole y Annika. Martín nos enseñaba cómo es su proceso creativo, que lo inspira a él a hacer videos y qué hay pues básicamente detrás de lo que es la creación de videos y la fotografía. También tuvimos esta experience con Annika, donde tuvimos a Diego Beltranena. Él básicamente nos explicó y nos contó de su historia personal, cómo es que él pues, ha tenido el éxito que tiene hoy en día. Le hicimos algunas preguntas acerca de cómo su marca tiene el impacto que tiene hoy en día. Y una pregunta que yo le hice que pues la verdad es que me gustó un montón su respuesta es que cómo él pues decidió su nombre al final. Y pues él decía que después como de un proceso pues no tan fácil, al final al lanzar tu marca no tiene que estar perfectamente bien, sino pues simplemente tener esa valentía de lanzarla al mercado. Y bueno, esto es un poco acerca de mi semestre, las experiencias que tuve. Estuve pues básicamente un medio semestre fuera, que la verdad fue muy enriquecedor y pues quiero compartírselo con ustedes. How studying, living, and getting to know another country opens the doors to new perspectives, experiences, and above all, knowledge. Bueno, la verdad es que visité varios lugares, pero seleccioné algunos de los que más me gustó y básicamente como donde más adquirí conocimientos. El primero fue The National Gallery of Art, que está en DC. La verdad es que lo visité muchas veces en el tiempo que estuve porque de verdad es enorme y el aprendizaje que puedes tener ahí es diferente. Si vas 1 o 3 veces, aprendes un montón. Pero más allá de lo académico, lo quise enfocar también en lo personal. Me hizo reenfocarme en mis gustos, el cual es la fotografía. Estoy empezando un poco con eso, que es capturar los momentos. Y pues acá fue donde lo pude experimentar un poco. También como dándole un enfoque más a lo que me estaba pues dedicando y aprendiendo, es que me hizo preguntarme qué hace que mi trabajo o mi marca pues sea diferente a todos los demás, qué hace que tu trabajo en medio de muchos trabajos en un solo lugar sobresalga, no importando si hay como 10 o 1000 trabajos, qué lo hace sobresaliente a los otros. The National Mall es uno de los lugares como más turísticos, grandes y conocidos en Washington. Pero también aprendí que el arte va más allá, también dialoga con los grandes momentos y valores de la historia y también que pues el arte no solo se basa en pintura, sino que también se enfoca en la arquitectura y cómo la arquitectura pues nos comunica historia. Este fue un violin show que fue hecho por Candlelight. Definitivamente fue un show que me gustó un montón, pero me logró entender cómo una de las ramas del arte, que es la música, estando rodeadas por italianos, alemanes o diferente tipo de personas que realmente no entendían su idioma ni ellos el mío, pues al mismo tiempo llegamos a un mismo punto y un mismo sentir que fue la música y un mismo idioma que todos entendíamos. The Library of Congress definitivamente fue uno de los que más me enseñó. Esta fue una experiencia como recopilada de un montón de lugares y análisis que pude concluir basado en mi curso de finanzas y políticas públicas, como de los servicios públicos, por ejemplo, en Estados Unidos. Tengo 3 puntos rápidos: cómo la asignación de recursos públicos refleja las prioridades en una sociedad, cómo las decisiones presupuestarias impactan directamente el acceso, bienestar y equidad social. Visité hospitales, escuelas y algunas librerías públicas. Por ejemplo, las últimas 2 de abajo fue una escuela pública y el otro fue un hospital público. Si se dan cuenta, son refrigeradoras llenas de comida para todas las personas que están ahí y sin duda nos damos cuenta y me di cuenta que Estados Unidos pues tiene una buena calidad de vida. Y segundo, es como la colaboración entre gobierno, comunidad y sector privado potencia el impacto social, esto en innovación, alta calidad, en servicios públicos y privados, que era lo que les mencionaba anteriormente. Y por último, y creo que más importante en el viaje que tuve, es que estudiar en el extranjero pues sin duda abre las puertas a un montón de oportunidades, pero especialmente pues expande tu networking. Jim Thomas es el manager de Presence Marketing en Chicago, Illinois, que tuve contacto directo con él en este viaje y sin duda pues ha sido mi coach y mi líder en este viaje de las marcas, tanto nacionalmente como internacionalmente. Y quiero terminar con mi milestone, que al principio del semestre no lo planeé con la intención de viajar y hacerlo pues con base a eso, pero sin duda mi milestone era pues alcanzar una planificación mejor en mi tiempo, mis finanzas personales y en mis horarios. Sin duda, tomar un semestre en el extranjero es muy exigente porque tenemos que cumplir pues muchas cosas, pero creo que sin duda lo logré. Es el doble de trabajo en muchas cosas, pero sin duda es una gran oportunidad que la recomiendo. Y pues eso es todo. Gracias.
Hi everyone. When I say it was the weirdest experiential learning, I guess what I really mean is the most unorthodox. I can be sure that nobody ever at the MPC has had this kind of experiential learning. And I don't mean that really as a good thing, it's just something very basic, but it's important to me, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. A lot of my life has been defined by people telling me what I can and can't do because of my physical abilities, and I've let them, which is the worst part. But I realized that I shouldn't be doing that anymore. And so that's what this experiential learning has been about. One thing about me, I'm so sorry, Ronald. I'm so sorry, Odra. I don't like experiential learning at all. So after I did my presentation at the beginning of the semester, I immediately changed it. And you'll see a lot of hairstyles here in my new and improved vision board. And that was my experiential learning, to learn how to do a ponytail in my hair one-handed. And I had to do a lot of research for this. I found people that do it with vacuum cleaners. They actually put their hair into the vacuum. And I saw people that do it with a wall. None of that really worked for me, so I had to kind of find my own way. Here's a video of me doing it. This video is longer than I thought. I'm so sorry. If it looks painful, that's because it was. I pulled out like half of my hair when I took it out of my left hand. But more than that, from my personal experiences this semester, I wanted to continue learning and continue experiencing new things. I went to my first ever procession this year, which was amazing. I've grown up in the church and seeing so many beautiful things about museums and murals in Europe. But it's so wonderful that we have some of that culture here in Guatemala as well. part of what I thought was special about it is when we went to the Munai, um, the guy giving us the tour, I can't remember his name for the life of me, told us about how Guatemala is such a unique place and that it has a mixture of cultures, and that was really evident in the processions. I also had the opportunity to go and have a really fun experience with my friends Carla, Anika, and Nicole. Thank you, Nicole, for planning this wonderful pizza class. I will make you watch Shrek 2 when I have the opportunity. That really upset me when you said you've never watched it, but that doesn't matter right now. And thirdly, I had the opportunity to be in the collab class about disability and empathy. And with my group, we agreed that one semester isn't enough to address the issues we wish that we could. So we created a club at UFM called SOMA, which stands for Sensibility, Movement, and Adaptability. And that's something you guys can join now if you'd be interested in that. We want to carry on the legacy of what we've been doing so far with our time in this course. And we'd really love it if more people would join us in that mission that we have. Now for the experiences I attended. I was very lucky to attend many experiences this semester, but for the sake of keeping it brief, I'll just mention a few of my favorites. So I went to a few of Jose's experiences, but I really loved the one about the Bolshevik Revolution. Is that how you say it? Thank you. He's very good at teaching. So thank you for that, Jose. I also attended Cam's experience on SketchUp. I'm not a very visual person, so thank you for giving me this new tool. And lastly, I went to Anika's disc personality experience, which was really great for me because it's taught me a lot of stuff about how I should approach learning and even interacting with other people. So thanks for that. For created experiences, as some people have said in these presentations, I am obsessed with archery. It's like my main personality trait. So I had two experiences talking about archery, and I went from being a student to kind of teaching people what I know about it, which was very disconcerting to me at first, but essentially it helped me to realize that, yeah, I do know what I'm talking about. And it was even greater to see them applying that when we were out on the field shooting. And my last experience was called Tea Time with the Once and Future King, about my favorite story in all of history, the story of King Arthur, and how it's connected to Queen Victoria and the creation of afternoon tea time. It was great. Thank you. And lastly, I would like to close this, as I always do, with a quote by an author that I admire. Last semester it was Emily Dickinson. This day it will be Tolkien. It is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what it is in for us, the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. J.R.R. Tolkien. Thank you.
Now is my turn to present. This is my first semester experiences. So I'll start with the first I attended to. That was Anika's personality test, that we learn more about ourselves and more about our classmates. So it was really interesting and really funny to see how what the machine had to say about us. And I saw that the decision making is really important and says a lot about us. And I found it very funny to see how to learn about my classmates and how they were learning also. Then I attended to Nico's and Nicole experience of origami. it was a really cool experience. I had a lot of time without doing origami, so it was really cool. I found it very reflective and very peaceful to do it. I like the sounds of the paper and the foldings, so it was like ASMR. So I found it really, really cool, and yeah, it was amazing. We saw the history of origami. We also did some figures. We did a kimono. We did a samurai helmet, a bird, and also a traditional crane. It was really cool. Then I attended to Nina's experience, where we explored the legend of King Arthur, and she told us that we can see now the story in different places, like in Superman, that I found it really interesting. I didn't know about that, and also in music and in a lot of things. And the legend has evolved, and in different authors have changed it. So I found it very interesting. I didn't know nothing about King Arthur, only the Disney movie. Then the experiences I created. First, the one that we already talked with Annika, with Carla, and Nicole. We showcase our brands. Mine was Dart, is this one. This is the logo. It's a production company that I've been working on. And we explain like why and how are we going to do it on this experience. So it was really cool to elaborate my own. I'm very happy of that. Then I had this experience that I went with Matias. We went on the touribus with different architects and urbanists and historians from Guatemala that talked about the history of the city, and we saw how Guatemala can be more connected if the infrastructure was made for people. And it could be really easy to walk here, but it's not, and it's also sad how Jose was mentioning. But yeah, I was late to the tour, so I catch them like in the middle of the tour, and it was really fun. I learned a lot of my city, and yeah. Okay, so this was a video of the bus, and yeah, the weather was amazing. We didn't have a roof on the bus, so we could experience the weather. So it was amazing to see the buildings and stuff. Then I created this experience of my creative process. I explained how I've been explaining the stories in videos where I chose to use stop motion animation and to make it easier for the kids to, if I had to explain the idea to kids, how easy could it be visually to see it. So I explained and I elaborate some tools and props to create the videos where I can be writing the video at the same time as filming. You can see it there. That's the little thing I built for my videos where I can write on paper. This was a video of the animations. I don't know why it's not working, but yeah. So my personal experiences outside. First, I went to Pasos y Pedales with Ciudad. Ciudad is a business of urbanism, the design and stuff. We walked from Plaza Berlin to El Obelisco. We saw that how the pedestrian spaces can increase economy and our health. We even talked with a local bakeries owner, and she told us that the sales increases 800% only on the Saturdays of Pasos y Pedales. So she sells more only on that day than in the whole week, just because the streets are walkable. So that was really interesting to see. And that reminded me of how the cities that are walkable gives you a better health. So I went to ATI, having in mind my urbanism class and also my journalism one. So I went to document the traditional textiles, but not only the traditions, but the activities they do to create them. So I went to San Juan La Lagunas and to Santa Catarina to see how they created the textiles with insects and plants. And the most interesting part was they used banana resin to create the waterproof, the coat, the waterproof thing. Yeah, but it was to see the activities and how the activities create these local towns where people can live longer than 100 years. So I went to document for this, the thing, the Blue Zones. It's a documentary on Netflix where they talk about different villages around the world where people live more than 100 years because of the things they do in the town. So we see older people in the towns because of the activities they do and how they walk more frequently and the things they eat, the traditions, etc. So in these villages, from a very young age, they walk and carry stuff uphill because the towns are uphill. So you see more older people in the towns than in the city. I asked these older ladies that were working on a tortilleria, and she was bringing the masa for the tortillas to other tortillerias around the town. And the oldest one was like 85 years old, and she still do the same work since she was young, and she has a lot of energy and she's very active. So that's why a city that walks is better. Then I went to this experience from the Tubus Municipal in Zone 15, where they just got new bosses in Zone 15 like last year. I saw some things that weren't like the best, and I enjoyed a lot of the ride on the bus. It felt like you were in Guate because the buses are clean and they work, and some they kind of work. Yeah, but it was awesome. I went with my girlfriend to see how it worked. I timed the bus to how long it was to pick us up and to drop us. So yeah, I went to see how the bus worked. Then this experience of video production with Nueva Narrativa, I learned to do a lot of interviews. I worked with Matias too, here. And yeah, it was my first real job working on the things I was studying, like journalism, urbanism, and storytelling. One of the things that excited me most about this was the campaign I worked with Back Credomatic and Nueva Narrativa to create this ad of La Calle 21. It was really cool. I had videos here of how they looked on the streets because they were on all the movies around the city. So that was really cool. These are more photos of the project. So it felt really cool to see my work on the whole city. I also went to this weather balloon launch where there was a high altitude one to record the weather and to collect UV light. And it was a whole process to record this thing. I had to film it with a drone. I woke up really early, like from 4 a.m. to drive to the coast. And yeah, it was a thing. Then I went to ATI again to work on a short film and work as a behind the scenes photographer for a short film. And I stayed with the crew for the whole weekend in a lakeside house. And we shot the short film from the morning to the late night. It was really fun. I took a lot of photos. I've never been on a project like this, so it was really inspiring and challenging. And my photos, the director liked my photos, so he asked me to record the short film after because he liked it. I've never used a camera like that one before. What? So my milestone was to create these systems of organization. But first I started with my digital space. I had the video of my hard drive with all my photos and how because one thing is taking photos and the other thing is the archive. So I worked on the organization. I organized them from the years to months to events from 2014 to 2024. So I have a lot of discs and a lot of photos. So I had to do my organization there. Then I changed my digital space to my physical space. I started doing shelves and giving a place for everything and organizing everything. I put a whiteboard to keep track of my tasks, my books for easy reach, boxes with labels, and my stand for cameras where I can charge it and find them easily. And all these things unconsciously creating the space, creating the systems of order, create the spaces I was living. I created my room, and unconsciously it felt much comfortable and everything. So for my next semester, I'm planning to consciously build spaces for me to get inspired or work easy, or for certain things I have, like for doing videos, I wanted to create a space where I can feel more inspired to do them and easy with the materials I need. And thank you. This is the end.
And I thought of so many things, like all semester I was thinking, ever since Ronald was like, oh, you need to make a speech. I was thinking, oh my God, how am I gonna fit everything I want to say and all the tips and tricks and all the comments and thank yous into a 10-minute presentation? I can't. So I thought, oh, I'm just gonna do the whole thing I usually do, where I do this TED Talk style thing and I do bullet points and words and stuff. But I feel like I've done enough of those. So I thought I would make something different this time. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you a story and something else, and hopefully it reaches some of you. And this story begins last night, actually. I was having dinner, that's me. And my brother just came in to sit, and he was like, hey, I have this fun fact that I wanna tell you. This fun fact was that his name, which is Martin, actually means, it's a pretty awesome name because he found out that Martin means God of War. And apparently that's awesome. That's kind of how he feels, I guess. It means God of War because Martin comes from the name Mars, which is a Roman name for the God of War. But I indulged him, like older brothers do, and I was like, oh, where did you find this really useful piece of information, and what does my name mean? And I was very pleasantly surprised to find that my name apparently means the wise one. This is kind of how I felt. And I was doing some research on my own later, and I found out that indeed Diego comes from the Greek didakos, which translates more closely to the instructed one. And this sounded a lot better because the instructed one is not someone who is born wise, but rather is willing to learn and to become wise. And I thought that was really interesting, and that made me change my whole presentation last night because I felt like that really encapsulated my whole time at the MPC. I didn't come to the MPC as a very wise person, but I was very willing to learn and to change. And so all of that to say that today I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to read to you a letter I wrote to all of you, and to the future MPCer, and all the things that I wish someone had told me when I arrived here. And I wrote a letter, and it goes, "Dear MPCer, here's a fire I hope you carry. Perfection will wear many disguises. Sometimes it sounds like ambition. Sometimes it sounds like discipline. But most of the time, it's just a fear in costume. It says, not yet, not now, just wait, wait, wait. But you don't need to wait for it to be perfect. You need to be present. You need to take a leap, to jump. Because you won't become remarkable by being flawless. You'll become remarkable by being honest and creative." And that first rough draft will crack something open. And when that happens, you'll want to know what's next, and what's after that, and what's after that, and what's the finish line. So I implore you to please forget about the grand vision. That will come later, hopefully, or maybe not, and that's okay. So when in doubt, reduce the scope, but don't lose your soul. The first thing doesn't have to be impressive. It has to be yours. The part that feels important to you, even when you don't want to admit it, that's where it should start. So forget the finish line and just find your next honest step. Eventually, you'll hit a stretch where things feel busy and they even feel successful. But somehow they feel strangely distant from you. And I want you to know that's not failure, that's your cue to check in. Don't wait for burnout to give you permission to pause and find ways to stay close to your reasons, even as they change. Watch the TV show of your life, not for ego, but for recognition of who you are. Because the fog will come and it will teach you something if you're willing to sit in it. And then at some point, the pressure to be impressive will sneak in and it'll tell you to change your voice, to hide your doubt, to look like you've got it all figured out. But the opposite of seriousness isn't play. It's apathy. It's not caring. You can be playful and still care deeply. You can laugh and still be doing the most meaningful work of your life. So take your work seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously that you forget how to move or breathe or ask the real questions. True seriousness is love and curiosity expressed honestly. And remember that it isn't meant to be a solitary journey. The best work doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in the quiet waves between people who are paying attention to each other. You have to choose it. You have to make little space for it to find you. And the people who will resonate with you will find you faster if you speak clearly. Connection isn't a reward for getting it right. It's something you build by being visible. And eventually you'll realize that you're not the only one thinking these thoughts. You're just the one saying them out loud. And finally, if any of this stayed with you, don't keep it to yourself. Say it again someday in your own words to someone that's just arriving at the MPC, or to someone who is at their second semester, or someone who needs to hear it. It doesn't have to be a speech. It could be a question or a gesture, or simply the way you show up to the day. Because what you pass on might be the thing that keeps someone else going. And in that way, we don't finish here at the MPC, we continue each other. So dear MPCer, please remember the fire isn't yours to keep, it's yours to carry and pass. So from the wise one who's mostly just been willing to learn, thank you to each and every one of you. That's it.